Welcome to ABA Generalized, the podcast where we will bring a positive view to the world of applied behavior analysis.
We are your hosts, Erica, G, and Ann, here to share inspiring stories, practical tips, and share some of the latest research to help you thrive in your ABA practice.
Whether you're a seasoned professional, a student, or just curious about ABA, our goal is to spread positivity, foster a supportive community, and empower you to make a meaningful difference.
Every Monday, we'll dive into topics ranging from success stories to self-care strategies and professional growth.
Plus, we'll be featuring interviews with leading experts and real-life heroes in the field who are making an impact with their positive approach.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ABA Generalized the pod and send us your thoughts, questions, or success stories to aba.generalized.podcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and join us for today's episode of ABA Generalized.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're all back. It's the three of us. I feel like it's been some time since it was all three of us. But we're going to change things up today. We have been doing a lot of terminology and I feel like kind of boring textbook things. So need to do something fun. So if you are following our Instagram, I put up a poll of if you guys would rather hear the worst moments of ABA or the best moments of ABA. And it seemed like majority wanted the worst, but there was still plenty of votes for both. So we are going to end up doing both, but we are going to start with the worst moments of ABA. I think the only way to get the worst moments of ABA started is to talk about toilet training. I feel like everyone in ABA at some point or another does have to deal with toilet training in some capacity. So I guess we're just going to get started with worst moments of toilet training, and then we'll kind of go into other worst moments of ABA. So if Erica, if you want to get us started with your worst toilet training memory.
So I don't think that it was specifically toilet training that comes to mind when I'm thinking about this terrible incident. But I was in RBT. This was maybe 2017. No, it had to have been 2018 at this point. So it was 2018. And I was still working for the first company I worked with, and I was an RBT working in the homes. This was also pretty early in my home career. And I don't know, I cannot remember for the life of me how this all happened, how it all played out, but child was learning how to be potty trained as a whole. Parents had him in underwear. And I don't think this kiddo really liked me very much. And I think it was just really hard to pair with him. Non-speaking, just really
Hey, not every pair is a match.
Exactly. And my energy might have been just too high for him. When I am working directly with a child, I am a kid. I am a complete child. And so, and not every child needs that. Every child is so different in what they need, right? But I remember sitting on their indoor swing. It was their outdoor swing, but it was inside the house. And he was on a break and watching his tablet. And I was trying to pair with him. I was talking about the show, eating a snack. All of a sudden, I feel something wet. Child peed on me. Peed on me. Not oopsies, I'm a pee. I had an accident. No, he deliberately giggling and laughing and peed on me.
That's the worst.
Oh
I think the worst is when they know that they're doing something that's wrong and they're looking at you, and then you can't react either because you're just great. If I react now, I'm feeding into this behavior even worse. So no, that's a lose situation all around.
And this was I think this was my last client of the day too. And I think it had to have been the King of Prussia area. I can't remember exactly, but I remember driving in that area and always getting lost because it was weird, how up in that area, there was the townhomes and all that stuff. But yeah, I went home. I think I put a towel on my seat and everything because I was I am soaked. Yeah, parents felt really bad, but yeah. Anyways, that's enough about my lovely story. G, What's yours?
I thankfully somehow got away with not doing as much potty training as I feel like I should have, considering I had majority of the younger kids. Um, but I will never forget, it was a clinic setting and I was like literally 10 minutes left of the day. We were all ready, like cleaning up and everything. And this client went home in a diaper, but she was working on toilet training. So she was in underwear while she was at the clinic. And I was literally doing our last like transfer to the bathroom to put her diaper on to get ready to send her home. And we sat her on the toilet one last time. I should also add I was pregnant. So like at this point in the day, I'm exhausted. And I like sat on one of like the little baby chairs in front of the toilet in the bathroom because I was like, I can't squat for long enough to like help you get changed. And worst decision of my life, I should have never sat down. I should have stayed standing. It didn't matter. I will never sit again in a bathroom at the angle that I was. And while she was peeing, she put her feet up on the toilet seat and all of the pee just started coming out of the toilet like towards me, like directly. And I had nothing to do. I was stuck. So like I am now covered in pee. And yeah. So that's like kind of, again, there was like 10 minutes left. I was like, I just gotta go home. Like, can somebody just like transfer her to her mother? Like, we're done for the day. My data is been taken. I just need to do my session note. And yes, I thankfully was only 10 minutes from home. So like just went right home, took a shower, was done with the day. But that is my horror story of toilet training. And your turn.
Okay, so I was toilet training in a house and I was an RVT. This had to be in 2021. So we would go to the bathroom every 15 to 30 minutes, and we finally convinced parents to, like, we're going to practice him wearing underwear, right? It was a boy. And he was very quick and he peed. He would work for Candy, like he would get to choose. And as he was finished, right before he flushed, in the bathroom, and this is like a common thing to do, is like you have extra clothes, extra underwear, extra everything in the bathroom in case there was an accident or you had to change them. So there was a basket of underwear, and he looked like he was going to flush, right? And then right away he grabbed a pair of underwear, threw it in the toilet, then flushed it.
Oh no.
And I was like, and he definitely moved way too fast for anyone to even flinch.
So let me tell you, like, this kid was lightning fast. Like, and I was like, oh my God, is it gonna clog? I'm gonna be in so much trouble. And he knew, like, it was like, he knew. Like, what? You could tell by his face that he knew. And I was like, oh my God. And again, like, don't want to bring attention to it because then it's going to be so much fun to keep doing it.
Yes, that is the worst moment because you want to scream on the top of your lungs and you're just like, nope, I can't react right now.
What I really want to know about this story, Anne, is like, what did the parents do when you told them that? Because I'm assuming this was in their house.
It was in their house. So mom would stay upstairs because they had a younger, like a 2-year-old, like he was 4 and she had like a 2-year-old too. And sorry, my kids are sitting on each other. So I either texted her or like she came down and I said, so he flushed a pair of underwear down the toilet. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting or anticipating that at all. This was a first time and thankfully a one-time thing. It didn't happen again. And now that I was on guard every time I took it, like, I'm gonna block that and, make sure the lid's down and all the things. So she was okay with it. The dad was like really good with construction and housing and stuff. And like, so that was in my head. And, you know, the worst thing was like, maybe he would have to take things apart. But she wasn't too concerned. So sorry. This is what happens when you have one of something and they have to share. But yeah, she didn't freak out. I was so nervous. My child just fell. Hold on. But yeah, mom didn't it wasn't a big deal. And you know, you never know how parents are going to react.
No, that's like my biggest fear is the parents are going to react like bad. And then your rapport is gone with them. And
yep.
Yeah.
And I had a really good rapport with the family, with the client. He really tested me a lot, had some pretty aggressive behaviors, but we were good. The sessions were really long too. So we were in the bathroom all the time.
Goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like toileting, I don't know. I feel like whenever I saw toileting come up on somebody's programming, I was like, here we go. Like you just have to mentally prepare yourself for that client. I don't know. Ever since that incident, I learned to have a pair of clothes in my car at all times, no matter what, an extra shirt, extra pants, like everything. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah, but other than toiling, you know, obviously we've all had our, you know, hard moments in ABA, and we deal with behavior. That is, you know, that's the main thing. So we've seen probably the best and the worst behaviors, and as well as it is, or as nice as it is to see all of the success of, you know, your kids learning and whatever, we also have all of these horror stories. So here we are all going to share at least one non-toilet training related horror story, so you all can experience it with us, and then hopefully we can just move on to bigger and better things. So Erica, why don't you get us started?
So I want to say this was my second year. Yeah. So this was 2017. It was the second school year, or maybe I don't remember. I was working in a school, the behavior school, many, many years ago. I believe it was either 2017 or 2018. I cannot remember, but I was in a car accident. It was a very minor fender bender, like super minor, but I ended up with a really, interesting concussion. Should not have gotten a concussion from a minor fender bender, but that's besides the point. I had just come back from this car accident back to work. I had been out for a couple weeks, recovering all that stuff, and come back, and my kiddo that I was working with was a teenager with high behaviors. This kiddo I might have talked about in the past, like I had such great rapport with her. She and I, she was my first ABI kiddo. Like she's probably my why I continued, because I really felt like ABI was a great fit for me after working with her. So she had really high behaviors. Her behaviors were diminished for quite some time, but then all of a sudden they started spiking back up, and we weren't sure why, but that's besides the point. She was in the school play, and I think the school play was Lion King this year. And I could also be wrong with that one, because it was either Shrek or Lion King. Once again, I don't remember. All the years kind of blur together at this point. But she was supposed to be in it. I was supposed to be transitioning her. I had a walkie-talkie on my my collarbone, and she started to get upset. And I knew her triggers of when she was getting upset. Well, homegirl, she did this thing where she would take her fist and hit it to her thigh really hard when she was getting upset. But instead of hitting her thigh, she went square into my nose. So this was right after I just got back from a concussion. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure, actually, you know what? Did it start snowing that time? I think it started snowing because
it was like, things are bad enough. Let me just throw snow in there.
Because I remember Scott having picked me up. I remember Scott having picked me up from the school to drive me to the emergency. No, was it to the emergency room? I don't remember. So many things happened all at once that year. There was a lot of things happening. So I could be also misremembering time periods. But overall, kiddo punched me in the face. That was a toughie. That was probably my hardest moment because you have to keep it together and you can't react, right? And I've been getting things thrown at me before, punched, hit, pinched, scratched, spit at, you name it, probably happened to me. I mean, I just said I got peed on, so like you name it, probably happened. So yeah, and I used to actually have a girl that like would pull my necklace too, so that was a fun one as well. Anyways, so
Didn't you know you're not supposed to wear necklaces,
yeah, well,
earrings?
I learned that after like that one of my necklaces broke because of her.
People wonder why I don't wear any jewelry, like because I've never worn it for work. That was a liability.
Yeah, so that was a fun one. Did not end up with a broken nose, but I have pictures where like it was really like deep bruising looking like underneath my eyes. But other than that, it was, just another day of work. But yeah, that's my lovely, terrible, hard moment right after a concussion. It's exactly what you want to deal with. All right, Anne, what was yours?
So same client. Because I saw them. I was an RDT and studying for the BCBA exam. So in a lot of houses, so sorry. In a lot of houses, we have to take shoes off, all that stuff. So what I didn't realize, also this client and I didn't know this, like there were a lot of baby gates put up to prevent eloping, because there was no sense of safety awareness. And so we would only stay in like certain parts of the house, or parents would help, like if we were to go like out front. So baby gates, if you took your eyes off of this client for 2 seconds, they would go to the baby gate and open it. Because they're not foolproof. Like he wouldn't climb over it because they were too high. But there was one time where he opened it and would run, like running circles around their fancy dining room area. And they had hardwood floor and I was in socks and I was going around a corner and I fell like on my side, like I slid, wiped out. Of course, I don't care, like not even thinking of my own safety, like my hip is hurting. So I jumped back up because they're on their way to the front door and I'm hopping back up, like limping, going as fast as I can, and just to block him so that he wouldn't run out. Because, like I said earlier, with the flushing the toilet, like kid was freaking fast, so fast, and chasing was a game. But at that point, like if you know this kid's gonna elope, like you have to go. You have to.
That is the worst thing with elopement behavior is like, especially if they do enjoy the chase, it's like, where is the line of like, I have to block them, but I don't want to chase them, but they're in danger, but I need to walk. Like you have to make like a split decision of, it's their safety. We gotta react.
Well, and then also,
yeah, no. So then I had to take my shoes off, or like there was like I was considering getting like the socks with the grips on it, like that you get in the hospital. I had a couple.
That was required. That was required for my last company for home sessions. We had so many injuries that like had happened in so like a short period of time that they required, if you have to take your shoes off in a house, that you have to have like a grip socks on, because they were just over the injury reports.
It's a good idea. I mean, clearly.
Well, and then I was gonna say, like, I think the hardest part too of that whole story is like you were hurt and you still had to like deal with the elopement. Oh my gosh, that is the worst when you get hurt and like if you like stub your toe and then you still have to like chase after a kiddo. Oh my gosh, playing tag with a kiddo and like stubbing your toe when you're wearing flip-flops. Don't wear flip-flops when you go work in ABA. Number one rule.
And also like keeping your cool. Like
wait,
you can't like you just have to get back up and be like
wait, back to the shoes though. Depending on the client, because when I was at the company we all worked for, there was like certain schools I would go to that I wore like booty heels to my ABA sessions.
Yeah. Well,
I would too, depending on the clients that I would have. So, I would wear sandals or
I would wear flip-flops more often than I should. All right. Anyway, I also had an elopement story, I guess. I don't know, like as my worst. I was 8 months pregnant, and this specific client, we had an amazing rapport. I had been with him for almost 2 years at that point. He was on his way to graduation. Like he really had far and few between moments. That was the only reason I was able to stay on him very pregnant, because again, we had a really good rapport and his behaviors were decreasing to the point of graduation. So we were like, we're good to go. And we never really got to the bottom of it. We suspected that he didn't like the BCBA that was currently on the case. So she came to overlap with me. And as soon as she and I both started talking to him about the day, he took off out the back door. And this bugger was fast. He was my kiddo that reminded me a lot of Jonathan. Like same build too. So he was just like very easy to get away from you. And I also knew that he could slip through parts of the gate because he was so tiny. So that was concerning. So I, 8 months pregnant, took off out the back door. The BCBA and the mom are both screaming at me to stop running and to stop going after him. And I'm like, no, you guys do not have the rapport with him. Like, I need for him to look at me. And as soon as he looks at me, like, we're gonna be okay. Everything will be okay. And it was. I finally caught up to him. I like touched his arm. And as soon as he turned around and realized it was me, I was like, dude, it's me. I said, what is going on? And he stopped in his track. And I was like, look at me right now. I said, you know that I'm pregnant. You know that I'm not supposed to be running like this. Please stop and let's figure out what's going on. And he looked at me and he goes, I am so mad at mom. And, blah, blah, blah. And he just like, why don't I said, am I mom? And he goes, no. And I was like, then let's go inside and let's talk about this because this is ridiculous right now. And he just looked at me and went, fine. He just submitted at that point and was like, fine, and walked inside with me. But I will kid you not, I was just, again, 8 months pregnant, the end of my day. I didn't just done. I barely wanted to be at work at this point in my pregnancy. There was so much going on. And he just decided to run away. And I was like, dude, this is not what I signed up for today. Not what I signed up for.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, no. Don't do that. Don't go chasing kids 8 months pregnant, first of all. I'm glad that you were able to corral him.
Yes. Again, thankfully. Again, I don't think if it was any other kiddo, I don't think that I would have ran, but I knew that as soon as we locked eyes and I was able to talk to him, that we would be done for the day and we can move on with life. And that's why I was like, dude, because I knew if mom or the BCBA would have caught him, that man would have just kept running. We would have been on a whole, because he's done that before. We've had to get in the car and go down the road. And thankfully he does get in the car and come back, but I was just ready for it. So yeah, again, ABA has its tough moments as much as it has its good moments. I guess the last worst moments we'll kind of go through is, as we've definitely talked about in our episodes, burnout is real, especially in ABA, especially when you're working as many hours with the same clients and you have your personal life going on as well. So burnout is really in your face. So I guess we're going to go through now, the moments when you were definitely going through burnout and a moment didn't have to be as difficult as it turned into be, or, made the situation a little bit worse. I will go because mine is kind of short, sweet, and to the point. I messed up, and I will fully admit to it. There was a 4-year-old at the client who would curse like he was a teenager, and obviously a big part of his program was getting this cursing under control, so that he could go to kindergarten the next year. And he was full on cursing out his RBT. And she kind of deserved it. She was also not following any sort of protocol, and he was calling her a dumb motherfucker and this, and he was just leaning into her, and she was getting like visibly mad and upset, and you could tell. And I was way too close to the situation to react to it, and I started laughing. And the kid saw that I was laughing and fed even more into it. He was just like, oh, people think this is funny? Great. And he just kept going. And after laughing, obviously, I felt really bad because I was like, crap, I definitely just increased that behavior more than it needed to be. And it's like, obviously, for all for attention. But I was just so over it at that point in time that I was just like, no, that is actually really funny. But should I have laughed? Absolutely not. Definitely made it worse, but it was funny.
I think it's really funny when our kiddos actually use cursing in context. I know that's really bad to say, but like it's hilarious.
I'm sorry, but if any child, it doesn't matter their disability or not, it is hilarious if a 3-year-old says you motherfucker. Yeah.
Of course I'm gonna laugh. Well, so y'all have all probably heard my story before if you are a longtime listener. We had Kathy on both this season and last season, right? Is that correct? Or was it just last season? I think we had her on twice last.
I think they were both last season, but either way, she's been on twice.
So Kathy's been on, and we've talked about this before, the blueberry incident. That one just every time I think about like a burnout moment in my career, that was probably one of the high ones. Just because this did not need to be the extreme that it was. I think that I kept myself pretty cool and calm. If you ask Kathy, she probably would agree that I was, but she was more frustrated because there was an assessment going on next door. So that's where we got a little frazzled, all of us. But so for anyone that doesn't know about this story, so basically I was sitting with Kathy's daughter, and we were doing flashcards. Girls loved flashcards. But then we took a break, and she wanted a snack, and she wanted her blueberries. Now, the issue with the blueberries was that she wasn't just eating them, she was squishing them and then eating them. Now, for age appropriateness reasons, yes, that's fine. But we're preparing her for preschool, and she was not going to be able to do that in preschool. They were also going to correct that behavior in preschool. They were going to say, oh, you can't do that. Just because where we know that she was going. So I was trying to shape that behavior, and girlfriend got real upset with me when I saw her start to squish, and I like immediately prompted her to just put it in her mouth. I was like, you could squish it in your mouth. You just not with your fingers. Like, no. And she threw a fit. She threw her blueberries everywhere. Kathy came in and took her out because girlfriend was throwing a huge fit. And like I said, an assessment was going on next door, so she didn't want to interrupt it. But yeah, so that's a blueberry incident. Great times. All right, Anne, back to you.
Okay, so this happened at the school that Erica, you and I both worked at. But I think you were gone. You might have been gone at this point. I can't remember. I was super pregnant with this guy.
Then I was,
and then you were. I can't remember because.
Was it summer?
It was in the summer.
Then I was.
It was before ESY because I never worked ESY. So he was born at the end of June.
Right.
So it was.
Yeah.
It was probably like May because it was hot, and they were doing some sort of something outside. And this might have been during construction So the playground, they didn't have
Yeah.
access to the playground yet. So I think that's why we were playing like outside in another area. No, I think so. Anyway, we were, there was a student in one of the classrooms that I was in, and she was hilarious. And anything that it didn't even sound like a demand, like was a demand. And I don't even know what happened, but she started to leave the area that everyone was in, and I was, 7 or 8 months pregnant, and I guess closer to 8 months pregnant, like, gee, and this kid, like, we all thought that I was going to have him early because I was massive, like, big kid. And
You were very
and I don't know why no one else was chasing her, so I did. She was heading for the parking lot. And I was like, well, here I go. And I might have been in flip-flops because my feet were swollen. Like, I was at this point where, like, my shoes did not fit. And why would we expect a pregnant lady to be running after? So here I go in sandals or flip-flops, I don't know which, down a hill, chasing her. And then the teacher, like, she's catching up to me, and she was like, why are you chasing her?
Oh my.
I'm like, well, like, out of breath. And she wasn't fast, the student. So I think, and maybe that's why no one was like chasing her, because it would have been easy to get her. But like, again, like, laughing her head off. And I'm just like, dude, like, I don't have time for this. Get back here. And like, she knew, again, like, for attention, and like, just like very defiant, if you will. Like, she just cracked me up. If you like, I'll say her name after, Erica, if you haven't caught on to who I'm talking about. She yeah. Anyway, we got her. Like, everyone was safe, whatever. But I'm like, dude, I cannot physically get you. And you know it.
Well, it's funny. Like, I'm thinking of another time that I had to, like, recently as a BCBA, I was supporting like one of my kiddos at a splash pad wearing flip-flop. Well, they weren't flip-flops, they were slides. And I kicked them off to chase after this kiddo that was eloping from the splash pad. So I was wondering if you kicked your shoes off to go and chase.
I can't remember. I think it would have depended. I think I might have. I really might have. I think if not at that moment, I probably did for someone else. I was just like, you know what? This is not effective. I'm just going to go barefoot.
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah.
That is all that we have for you guys today about our worst moments in ABA. They're not terrible. There's definitely harder things out there that people have experienced. We probably also have experienced harder things, but we're just kind of like blacking them out.
Oh, for sure. These are just the ones that we're sharing with all of you.
Right. Like, yeah, we definitely have a lot more stories about this type of stuff. So if you're interested, we can try and like pull from our blackouts and share them more with you. But thank you all so much again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
ABA Generalized, the podcast, is not providing professional advice. Please seek a professional in your area for specific advice and support.